Ladies and gentlemen, my name is eSportsMonies, ESM, Mac10, whatever you want to call me, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be going through some of the user comments on my channel and responding to them and reading you guys some lovely feedback towards the end. So, first thing I wanted to address, Carbon Bond, when you miss Pub Trash feels bad, man. Sorry, Carbon Bond is our Pub Trash sponsor. Yeah, well, we'll say he's the Pub Trash sponsor. Moggs Rody said, Mac10, please don't ignore this. The wiki says that Alchemist can jungle a Battle Fury for 6 minutes now. It said that that you do not need the help of allies. So I went and investigated this a little bit further, and the wiki does say that you can get a Battle Fury at 6 minutes, but I don't believe it actually stated you could get it via jungle, and it was kind of vague. Also, I don't know when that was added to the wiki. So it's kind of dubious. Another thing about Alchemist is that, especially post 707, you don't really want to get a Battle Fury on him because he has a cleave passive. So something to think about. It's a level 20 passive, so it's kind of late in the game. But if you can save 4,500 gold by just clicking a single button, I feel like you probably want to do that. I love Dota. Thank you. Phil Yarn, so this is not even a Dota-related comment, but Phil Yarn said this game should be the talk of the town. As far as VR is concerned, I have like 30 VR games. It's definitely my favorite. I should get back to playing it. Ugh, thanks. I was trying to lie down for a minute. Yeah, that's the story of From Other Suns. From Other Suns is, out of all of my VR titles, it's the only one where you can kind of just be like, let's play some From Other Suns, and it's kind of always a good idea. It's kind of the way that I look at the original StarCraft 2 campaign. When I think about it in my head, it's always a good idea, and it's always going to be fun. This is the best one for Doom Jungle. Is probably Troll or Skeleton skill. Seconded by... You can have an infinite number up to 5. You can actually jungle a lot of heroes in Dota 2 Turbo mode. I don't think that you technically should, because if you're looking at jungling heroes in Turbo mode, you should be looking at going to the jungle and going to kill Ancients at around the 5-minute mark, because the jungle is weak enough this patch and the laning stage is short enough this patch that you can essentially consider the laning stage done before 10 minutes in most games of Turbo mode, and then you can go into your free farming mode. Alexander Homovic. Hey dude, I just wanted to tell you that maybe making videos about analyzing some pro Dota matches would be a good idea. I think you'd be great at it. Thank you, Alexander. I did this for a little bit with something called the eSportsMonies Daily, which is of course a straight ripoff of the Day 9 Daily, in terms of the title and theme of the show. If you guys aren't familiar with Day 9 basically does full analysis of professional StarCraft 2 replays. And I think he might do similar analysis with Hearthstone. I know he does a lot of Hearthstone-related content these days. So, I've been thinking about doing that lately. Again, I've been thinking about coming back into doing that high-level analysis. At the moment, I don't feel comfortable enough with the current patch. Like, I don't have everybody's changes memorized from the initial 707 launch yet, to where I feel I can look at a professional game and go, this is why this happened, and say that with confidence. I'm getting there because I've been playing a lot of, even though it's just turbo mode, I've been playing a lot of it lately, so I've been becoming more familiar with the changes, but until they really get ingrained into my head, because there's some pretty big talent changes that I think affect when you pick a hero. I wanted to ask Pro's opinion about buying Midas in turbo mode. I am not a pro. I am nowhere near a pro, but I will give you my opinion. Some said it's useless, some said it's useful when you want fast levels. Okay, so Omni build, go Midas. Doom build, go Midas. So Pennyfish89. I don't like Midas in turbo mode because... So Midas gives you double the normal amount of gold. So Hand of Midas. It gives you it gives you double the amount of gold that you normally get from it, and it gives you 30 attack speed. So it gives you, I believe it gives you double experience as well, but I know it gives you 400 gold. So 400 gold, that's 5 uses. So that's 500 seconds. Let's say, let's make it an even 600, because I'm going to assume that you're probably involved with a handful of fights, and we'll just say the absolute worst is like it pays for itself in 600 seconds, which is 10 minutes. With a lot of heroes, specifically heroes that get Mask of Madness, specifically heroes that get Battle Fury or Maelstrom or other big farming items. So Omni Knight is not really one of these heroes. You're asking specifically about Omni Knight in Doom. Omni Knight is kind of one of these heroes because Omni Knight has that nice AoE spell that he can, his nuke, essentially. And if you have Soul Ring and Arcanes before you get Midas, then you've got plenty of mana to use that ability on neutral camps. I mean, obviously you can't do it on every neutral camp because a lot of them have high magic resist, especially if you've got stacks that have multiple small centaurs, because the small centaur aura does stack. If you have 4 small centaurs, then you have essentially 100% magic resist on that whole camp. So I don't think it's good in turbo mode because in most situations, Doom might be the example or the exception to the rule here. The problem with Midas is that in those 10 minutes that it takes for it to pay for itself, on most heroes, I could have got something else that would have got me way more farm in those 10 minutes and then been more useful. So Maelstrom, and then by proxy, Mjolnir. It's an item that you kind of want to have in your inventory when you're 6-slotted. Battle Fury, same deal. You want it in your inventory when you're 6-slotted. Mask of Madness you don't want in your inventory when you're 6-slotted, but you also don't mind it. Like, there's a debate of when do I get rid of my Mask of Madness, because it does give you a lot of... It gives you a lot of fighting ability, even though it takes away a lot of armor. So especially with Sven, you kind of want to hold out the Mask of Madness forever. By contrast, Hand of Midas is an item that you kind of want, like it's high on the list of things you want to get out of your inventory when you're getting close to 6-slotted, and this is turbo mode, so you probably will get 6-slotted if the game goes on for 30 minutes and you're playing a hero that farms and you know how to farm. So that's why I don't like Midas in turbo mode, and that's why I recommend against it, because you can get so much money everywhere else on the map that if you get another item that helps you farm quickly, then you've already kind of crushed it. The only thing that I would say about Hand of... Like, the thing... If you're going Soul Ring and Arcane Boots before Midas on Omni, like, just to be very, very clear, if you go for Midas in turbo mode, it has to be your first item. It has to be. Because you have to have those, like, it has to pay for itself as quickly as possible, and you have to do it on a hero that doesn't have any flash farming mechanics, and you have to do it on a hero that, like, because I want to say, like, if you have a hero that has a talent that gives you GPM around level 15 or level 20, then going Midas is good because it gives you more experience and pushes you closer to that talent. Again, in a situation where you don't have flash farm mechanic. If it's level 25 talent that gives you gold per minute, then I don't know if it's worth going the Midas to rush to level 25, because you're not going to get there that much faster. Like, everything happens so quickly in turbo mode that you really start to see the cracks in the structure of some items, because they scale the same way they do in a normal game, but because everything around it is moving faster, you can kind of see, you can see the draw and the weaknesses of items, I think, a lot more clearly, and I think Midas is an item that you can really see the problems with in turbo mode. The only fiasco here is the video. This game works just fine on my Rift. I've been meaning to make a couple of videos. Like, I've been leaning more towards making Dota 2 content lately because reasons. It's Dota. But my criticisms of Fallout 4 VR and Doom VFR have been mostly addressed, and I think I do have a duty to go back and make videos saying, okay, Doom VFR is fine on the Rift and Fallout 4 is fine on the Rift if you if you take the time to play with your INI files and you allow the beta updates to roll in, or not the beta, but the actual updates to roll in for the games now. So these games are actually working fine. So that's good. And I owe Bethesda, though Bethesda is a giant company and I'm a tiny YouTuber with 6,700 subscribers, I do, for the sake of honest journalism, I don't call myself a journalist. I do not call myself a journalist, but for the sake of just honest media, I guess, I owe Bethesda a video or a pair of videos about Doom VFR and Fallout 4 VR, because I do think that they are absolutely playable and complete fun experiences on the Rift today. They're good. I don't know if Fallout 4 is worth $60, but Doom is definitely worth $30. And I've only played it with an Xbox controller. I haven't even tinkered with the touch controllers on Doom. Fallout 4 I've played with the touch though. Shouldn't you be stacking, CDK said, shouldn't you be stacking Ancients as well for when you get your ulti? This is in response to my Sven jungling guide where you rush Mask of Madness. So, not really. So back in the day, especially before the Dragonkin, I kind of want to call them Dragonkin, but they're not Dragonkin. The new Ancients, you know what I'm talking about. The ones that have the root and the minus armor, and they don't have any magic resist, so they're really weak to heroes like Tinker. But what are they? I'm actually just gonna search it. Ancient Creep Dota 2. It is the Prowlers. Okay, so the Prowlers, because of the Prowlers and the amount of damage they do, and because of the fact that they have Desecrate, which reduces your armor. So Desecrate is 50% of your base armor reduced, plus by the time you hit level 6, or by the time you have Mask of Madness, you might have 2 levels in your E, like you might be level 8, but probably you're level 7-ish. So if you only have 1 level in your E, then you're definitely going to have to use your ult to kill 2 camps. You're definitely going to have to use your E, even though you only have like 1 point in it. And you're definitely going to have to use Mask of Madness, and you're still going to be in a precarious position. So you can reliably use those 3 skills together, even if you're only level 7 and you max cleave, and kill a 2-stack at level 7. If you don't have the Prowlers. If you have the Prowlers, you can still do it, and you'll probably get away with it, but it's a lot more gambly, and there's a certain level of risk there because of how much minus armor you're going to have stacked on you, essentially. That and the fact that you rely on attacking to sustain yourself because of the lifesteal, and their root basically makes it so you can't attack for 2 seconds. Yeah. Plus it does 150 physical damage. So and remember you're dealing with a lot of minus armor as it is. So we're at 13 minutes. We're not running that long. 7.05 Lycan gameplay. Speak slower. Lamau, I'm in this stream. Turbo mode is cancer, 0 strategy, 0 balance. The matchmaking, pick a carry with high mobility and escape. That's it. That's kind of true still to this day. So the biggest problem I had with turbo mode when it first came out was the fact that you could buy items anywhere, and when you could buy and sell items anywhere, it basically led to a game where people could just jump on you and use dust. That you could literally buy a gem, kill someone using the detection granted from that gem, and then I think you can, yeah, you have the 10-second window on gem, right? Don't you? Gem, Dota 2. The stock takes 10 minutes to... It can't be destroyed or sold, but I'm pretty sure that you have like those 10 seconds when you buy it to sell it back. I'm not actually sure because that might have been tweaked since now. but I'm pretty sure that you could, for a period of time, buy a gem, kill an invis hero with it, and then sell the gem back, and basically just get free detection. Now, all of this stuff with buying items and reselling them and using consumables all over the map, they aren't necessarily low skill plays, but they aren't traditional Dota. And Turbo Mode's not trying to be traditional Dota, but you're kind of adding an unfair level of mechanical need, because if you don't know how to use consumables all the time and buy them and use them immediately, then you're just going to get rolled all over the map. So for those reasons, I had a lot of problems with Turbo Mode. It didn't feel like a fast version of Dota. It felt like a clowny version of Dota. Nowadays, Turbo Mode feels like a casual, I hate the word casual, but casual, easy, fast game of Dota. And that's really cool. It's really fun. I really like Turbo Mode now. It's like the only version of Dota I play, because like people rage. I mean, everybody's gonna rage, but people rage less in Turbo Mode. Hey, Nix. People rage less in Turbo Mode than regular games because they aren't committed to hanging out with you for an hour. They're committed to hanging out with you for like 20 minutes. Oculus rocks. I don't mean to sound like a fanboy or anything, having owned both. I eventually stole, I think he means sold, my Vive. This is from Zero Cool. Vive is heavier, trickier to set up, and the screen door effect messes up your immersion. I've never used a Vive. I've had a couple opportunities to use the Vive, and these opportunities were after I've owned an Oculus, but I would have had to wait in line at the convention, at the engineering conference I was attending, and I was kind of in a hurry to prep for my own presentation for the next day, so I didn't stick around and test it. From what I understand at this point, the Oculus is just better than the Vive in almost every way. All of the ways in which the Vive is superior to the Oculus come down to software decisions and intellectual property decisions on the part of Oculus and Steam and Bethesda, and actually no, Steam and Valve I'm not even going to touch on. They're as open source as can be. They're so good about making sure everything runs on their platform. I'm not going to give them flack, not at all. Yeah, I've kind of responded to this already, Chase. Chase Smacker said GTX 1070 is the minimum for Doom VFR. That's because a 1070 is the minimum for Fallout 4 VR, and they wanted to have the system requirements mirrored or identical for both titles. Doom, I am running at like 2 times super sampling on max settings and getting buttery smooth performance on my 1080 Ti. My performance is slightly worse. Like occasionally there'll be like some performance issues with everything on, I would say high, not max, but high on Fallout 4 with my super sampling at 1.3. So everything's rendered at 1.3 times the normal amount of pixels, versus with Doom, everything's maxed out and I'm rendering things with 2 times the normal amount of pixels on screen. So Doom absolutely runs better in VR and not in VR than Fallout 4 does. And that's just a problem with the engine that they used to make. They used the Creation Engine, which was the same thing. I think the official, I know they call it the Creation Engine. I don't know if it has a more formal name, but I'm pretty sure they just, like, that's the actual real, like, reference name of the engine they use. And they use that to create Fallout 4 VR, and they used it to create or not Fallout 4 VR, but the original Fallout 4 was made in it, and so the port obviously is heavily influenced by it. And Skyrim was made using the same engine. So that's a very, very long time to use the same engine. I'm just going to leave it at that. For reference, Skyrim came out on November 11th of... I'm not going to leave it at that. Skyrim came out on November 11th of 2011. 11/11/11 was the release date of Skyrim. And July 27th of 2010 was the date StarCraft 2 was released. Okay. I'm not making this up. So I know for a fact I'm right about Skyrim, but I don't know about StarCraft 2's release date. So if I just guess this, if I'm right on this, oh man, I can't believe I just called that. Okay, so yeah. Okay. I'm really impressed with myself. I kind of have like a running gag with like a lot of my friends, a running joke with a lot of my friends about like a weird innate ability I have to remember dates. That's really cool. So July 27th of 2010 was StarCraft 2. That means we're talking 15 months. And remember, computer hardware hasn't changed very much in the past 7 years. If you have an overclocked i7 quad core from the fourth quarter of 2010 today, it is like you have no reason to upgrade unless you're getting more cores, because the single thread performance is within like 20% of what today's single thread performance is. It's really that similar. We have not had the price of getting the absolute best and running it and doing more at the same time is absolutely way better than it was 7 years ago, but per core single threaded performance on CPUs has only increased by like 10-20% in the last 7 years. And StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty came out 15 months before Skyrim. Like, these games, in like temporally speaking, these are very, very close to each other. These games were released at basically the same time, like a year apart in a video game release at this time, especially when you weren't seeing much innovation on the side of either Intel or AMD. It's basically the same release date. And StarCraft 2 uses one core. What StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, I think there's a little bit of multi-threaded stuff going on in Legacy of the Void, but StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty is a single-threaded game. It runs on one CPU core. And Skyrim is its contemporary. So you can see how a game that was made in 2011, an engine that was used to create a game in 2011 that's still being used to create games today, is probably going to have significant performance issues if games that it was contemporary with were completely single-threaded. Completely. Like 100% single-threaded. StarCraft 2 is the worst. StarCraft 2 is the benchmark to this day that I use to test CPUs, to test per core performance. Like, what is my frame rate like in StarCraft 2? Because on max settings, and another thing with that game is only like 1 or 2 settings really tax your CPU compared to your GPU. So if I turn down the few things that are flagged as CPU and turn everything max on my GPU, my frame rate is the same at all points, regardless of whether that's at the lowest possible setting or the highest possible setting, because of the fact that I have a very high-end GPU, and StarCraft 2 is actually pretty GPU-friendly. The things that it gets bottlenecked on the CPU side of things, so like the number of units displayed on the screen and particle effects, things like that, it's abysmal. I have a 144 hertz monitor with a 1080 Ti and a $750 flagship graphics card from NVIDIA that was released in 2017 with a Ryzen 1800X, which is a very good, like the Ryzen series, the Ryzen IPC and the Ryzen architecture overall is a very good architecture. It's great. An 8-core 16-thread CPU, 32 gigs of pretty high-speed RAM, running off an SSD. On a 7-year-old title with an unlocked frame rate, and I will easily dip into the 40s. I will easily have 40-some FPS at many, many stages in a typical campaign map of StarCraft 2, just because of how poorly optimized the game is. Sorry, that totally turned into a rant about how poorly optimized StarCraft 2 is, but it's totally fine. Totally fine. I've always got time to talk about how poorly optimized StarCraft 2 is. Okay, so, held for review. You're my crush. Approved. This is literally the most retarded idiot guide I've ever watched. I don't even know where to begin. So you guys can't see what video this is for because I've zoomed in a little bit too much so you guys can read the actual comment, but this is actually for my 707 Let's Get Spooky Jungle Guide for Wraith King. So it was released on Halloween night. It's actually a very good guide, in my opinion. Like, there are a lot of guides, I'll be the first to tell you, like, a lot of my guides are bad. This was a pretty good guide. So I'm going to approve this comment because it's not spam. It's just a guy being a jerk, but you're entitled to your opinion. Stop trying so hard, you sound like a retard frat boy trying too hard to sound hip. I mean, I'm going to approve this comment, but also what? Is that? Is it the hat? Me too. Okay, so this is a comment on my Dark Willow guide, which... Okay, that's a pretty bad guide. It's a bad guide. Okay, so not only are you useless for a few minutes while jungling, but you are also bleeping your safe lane, pull, your support. It's hard to explain how bad this is. To be clear, you are expecting someone to support you. You are jungling and not supporting and not being useful. To support you while you are stealing his farm, the support can farm the small camp and large camp by pulling, and in this patch, you can't pull the large camp to a safe position, so a double pull is needed, which you are bleeping up with this useless farming. So if you want to lose, or at least really piss off the guy who's planning to play the solo support and making your team a lot weaker like you do in the video, you will have a 10 to 20% chance to win GLHF. Really, man, I left your Lycan guide some time ago when the jungle was good. I used to go jungle Lycan and went up to 5 MMR just like that. It was like 30 wins, 3 losses with him. Yeah, that actually sounds totally legit. I'm not being sarcastic. That I went on a 27 game winning streak with that hero at one point. But when the jungle was usable, sadly now it's only usable for 2 or 3 heroes, Enigma, Chen, and Enchantress. Nature's Prophet can still jungle very efficiently. Wraith King can jungle very efficiently. To some extent, Alchemist can jungle efficiently, but you need to rely on getting at least like 2 runes, like 2 bounty runes. You got to get at least a couple of bounty runes. With this kind of video, you're just giving bad information, supporting bad play conduct in games. Yeah, I felt pretty bad making the Dark Willow guide. The Dark Willow guide... My initial Dark Willow guide was very, very bad. I would not ever do that. I think I probably said in the guide too that it wasn't very good, or that it wasn't very efficient time-wise. It was pretty weak. Klaus M, please, for F's sake, stop teaching people to jungle, at least not this patch. They remove Iron Talon so that the new players can experience a better dodo instead of a trashy 4v5 where one teammate jungles the entire game. That said, the jungle is pure cancer, no matter the bracket, just don't. Like, Pangolier is not a great jungler. I'm going to approve this comment in a minute. This is a comment for my initial Pangolier guide. Pangolier is not a great jungler. He's in the jungle, but he's not like as bad as Dark Willow. So I don't have too much of a problem with this in terms of the Pangolier hero, but everyone exaggerates. I think everyone's exaggerating. Like there are people on my channel that go like, you can just jungle everything. And then there are people on my channel that are like, you can only jungle Chen, Enigma, and Enchantress. And both of those, if you firmly believe either of those, then you're just like wrong. You're just wrong. There are a lot of heroes that can still jungle. There are a lot of heroes that can still be viable in the jungle, and definitely all of them are not viable in the jungle. Lycan is probably still viable in the jungle. In fact, I was kind of relieved when Iron Talon got removed from the game because it really simplified the way that I test builds, especially on heroes like Lycan that have the ability to face tank. So I think that's good. We're at almost half an hour now, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, leave me a like, hit the subscribe button. Really helps me out. And I'll see you guys next time. Approve, comment.